A log cabin evokes the spirit of Abraham Lincoln, who was born in Kentucky in 1809. Now, this is a picture of his log cabin. Well, when you think of him, don't you always think of honesty and hard work? Well, Lincoln ties us to the simple pioneering values of frontier America. And think about the pieces in a log cabin quilt. Now, each one is made of carefully stacked logs and predictably repeating blocks. An endless number of design patterns can be achieved from log cabin blocks. Now, this is a 9-block. It's a baby quilt or a wall hanging in the Fields and Furrows pattern. Now, it has a soft pink center. It has 3 lights in varying scales and 3 darks. And each one of the darks is slightly darker than the first. Now, because it has an uneven number of rows, 3 across and 3 down, you're a bit limited in designs, but it's a great quilt. Now, Linda Dahlman made this one, and it's perfect for a twin-size bed in a little girl's room. It's made of 15 blocks, 3 across, 5 down, and the pattern name is all 7s, meaning that the 3rd darks are turned like a 7. And then I want you to notice that the same light was used repeatedly on the light side. Oh, it's just so beautiful and soft. Now, my sister Patty made this one. This is a 16-block wall hanging, and the pattern is called barn raising. Oh, and Patty always does such a beautiful job with turquoise and purple. Love it. And I love her folded border around the outside edge, too. And then in contrast, this one is called zigzag. It has those blocks just twisting and turning about. Now, it's made of reproduction 1930s fabrics on the dark side, with a different strip is used each time in the fabric, and then the light side is repeated, the same fabric over and over again. It's 20 blocks, it's just 4 across, 5 down, and it looks great on a double-sized bed. And then especially you could finish it off with a dust ruffle and pillow shims, very feminine. Now, this one is a scrappy favorite, and it's called Foursquare. And each strip is a different fabric. And you know, I actually cut up all of those checked fabrics, and I made sure I cut every piece right on the line, because I don't want any crooked looking log cabins. Now, this is 36 blocks. It's 6 across and 6 down. It's very generous on a queen-size bed, and it fits very nicely on a king too. Well, log cabin quilts are as American as Lincoln and apple pie. So let's get ours finished. With 16 blocks, or 4 across and 4 down, there are so many different layouts to choose from. In fact, I've come up with 14 different layouts. You may be creative and come up with some of your own original designs. Oh, that's great fun. Now, when you're looking at your block, always focus on the 3rd dark and lay your block out according to that half of the dark. Now, I'm laying out the pattern called light with dark, and I took 4 lights and turned them all into the center. So if you look at it, it's actually a group of 4 together right there, another group of 4 together right here, and I was just finishing up this one right here. Now, whenever you lay the 4 lights in together, then you start to see another group of 4 darks picking up right in the center. Now, once you get your whole block set laid out, the best way is to just go ahead and take a Polaroid photo or a digital photo. Lay them all out together, look at them, and choose which one you like the best. Now, my favorite thing is to lay out all of my blocks, just run upstairs, look down at, kind of squint, as if it's sewn together. And then, after looking them all over, you can choose which one is your favorite one. So let me finish out laying out my patterns. Light with dark. Navajo. Starlight. Windmill. Arrow. Barn raising. Whirligig. Fields and furrows. Dark with light. Mountains. Peaks and valleys. All sevens. Zigzag. And last but not least, this is the layout that I decided to use, and it's called positive negative. Now to me, it looks like a light star. You can see the star points around the outside edge with a very light center. Now if you can't quite see that star, just squint at it. Take out all of those lines and you'll see that shape appear. Now I want to sew it together in vertical rows. That means the rows from top to bottom, here, here, and here. And actually the rows are also numbered. This is the first vertical row, the second vertical row, the third, and then the fourth. Now to do this, you always take the second vertical row and flip it right sides together to the first vertical row. Let me line that up, and this will keep this in perfect order without pins. And then you take the bottom and you just stack so that by the time you get back up to the top block is on the top. Now I'm going to just grab hold of this corner, hold on tight, and take this to my sewing table. You really want to hold on to this corner because there's no way you want to drop those blocks on the way to your sewing machine. Now, I like to just do a check. Take the first two blocks, just open them up, look at them right sides together, and then check against your chart just to make sure you're in order. And this looks good. Okay, so take the first two, and it's actually a pair. Just pick them up. They're in perfect order. So match the outside edges right here, and then just drop your presser foot on it. And I like to do a reverse sew. You know, we haven't been reverse sewing on this the whole time. Now's the time. Okay, go right to the opposite end. Line up those opposite corners, squeeze them tight, and just stretch them to meet. And just in case they weren't exactly the same size, stretching them now will really help. Now the first seam goes up exactly like you sewed it and you pressed it. Line up this outside edge here, and the second seam is going to go down. And then as soon as you get down through the first pair, just pick up the second pair. You want to do a quick check. Open it up, see, and then match that corner and just assembly line sew it straight through. Stretch it to meet and just press those seams exactly as they were sewn. You know, my friend Mike and I had a little sewing contest the other day. We wanted to see how fast we could team sew a lap robe size. Now a lap robe is just 12 blocks. Honestly, I did not try to let Mike win, but he did. He, with his teammates, sewed 12-block lap robe, added one border around the outside edge, you're not going to believe, in 47 minutes. And it took me 56. I was pretty bummed. But anyhow, it was great fun. And then we finished those quilts and gave them to charity. So we had a fine time doing them. I'm just going to continue sewing the whole way down this row. I have my first 2 vertical rows sewn together. They're in one great big long chain. And when you chain them together like this, it actually saves you time in the pinning step. You don't need to go back and pin there. And also, if you bring it back to your layout, place it, check it against your chart. Make sure that it's in order. It's so much easier to unsew it now than later. Now, you want to take your 3rd vertical row and flip it right sides together to your 2nd vertical row and go the whole way down along. And right here where the 2 blocks meet, if you just go ahead and overlap them and put a pin through all 4 layers, then when you carry it back to your sewing machine, then it's all chained together in one big piece. Now I'm going to sew the 3rd vertical row, and when that's finished, then I'll flip the 4th vertical row onto the 3rd vertical row, sew it down. The next time, I'll show you all vertical rows sewn together. And now it's sewn together from top to bottom in its vertical rows. You know, check it right now because it's so easy to unsew a block and sew it back together again at this point instead of a little bit later. Now, all we have to do are the horizontal rows, going the opposite way. So I'm just going to take the first row, flip it right sides together, and then just anchor it right in the beginning and backstitch. Let me get that started right in there and backstitch. Anchor that outside edge. And then once you have it anchored, go to the opposite seam. Go right here where it's joined together by this little thread. And I like to just hold on to it, wiggle it into each other, and you actually push the seams in opposite directions. Lock them together, push those seams in opposite directions. And then as you sew along, now underneath, there's going to be that one seam, and it's still going up just exactly as you pressed it. The second seam will be going down exactly as you pressed it. Let me hold on. Okay, there's that seam going down. Came right here to the seams that are locked together. I'm just going to go across, and you just keep on going right down that row until you have it sewn the whole way along. Now let me show you. So you don't get twisted seams. Oh my goodness, nothing worse than twisted seams. Okay, right here. This seam is already going down. So we're just going to follow it the whole way along so that over on the opposite side, on the next seam, it's going to be going down exactly the same. And the one on the other side underneath is going to be going up. So you just make sure you continue following those seams along until you have your whole top sewn together. So get your top done, press it, and I'll show you how to go on to the borders. Red is my color, so I'm framing my quilt with a red framing border. I cut it 2 inches wide. You might want to make yours 3 inches wide. The choice is yours. So that's my first border. My second border is a 4-inch wide, and I'm using the 3rd dark fabric. Really like that large scale print. Now, I already seamed the red pieces together. I was just working on the dark. Now, you should always stack them up and square off the salvage edges. And then all I'm doing is going through here and assembly line sewing them into one long strip. Now all you do is just pick up pairs. They're right sides together as you go right down through the stack. Assembly line sew one after the other so that whenever you go back, then you have them chained together like this. You can just cut those connecting threads in between, and then you'll have one big long strip that you can cut your borders off of. Now comes the scary part. Is your quilt square or not? Now take a tape measure. Measure it in 3 places. Measure on the outside edges and right down through the middle. Add those 3 measurements up and divide by 3, and then you'll have an average measurement. Now mine's coming out to be 59 inches. So I already cut my framing border, my 2-inch border, at 59 inches. Now place it right sides together. Actually, I added my 2 sides already. I'm just really on the go here. Add your opposite sides. These are the last two sides. But once you have it cut to size, take your pin, push it in from the inside edge out so you can sew across that. Now, pin it on one end and then go on over to the opposite side and pin it a second time. And then you need to stretch or ease the border in between and pin it in place. Just lay it down flat, pat it in place, because you know if your quilt is a little out of square, you can bring it back into square by cutting all of your borders the same size. I told you log cabin is very forgiving. So much fun. I'm going to add a red border around on all four sides, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a brown border. Let me get that finished. This is the time of the day when you get really excited because this quilt is nearly finished. Now, I've done a number of things since you saw the top. I took the backing and I placed it right side down on the table and I clamped it around all of the outside edges. You can use a clamp like this, or else you can use binder clamps. Now, the batting comes next. This is 80% cotton, 20% polyester. Just a nice loft. And then the quilt top comes right side up. And so you smooth from the center out. Make sure all of the layers are just perfectly flat. Now comes the safety pinning. You actually need to figure out where you're going to put your quilting lines before you put in any pins. Now, I recommend that you do stabilizing stitches down through all of the vertical rows and all of the horizontal rows just by stitching in the ditch. Now, the next easy way would probably be to just do some stair-step quilting right through each one of the strips on the diagonal. Or if you don't want to do stair-step, you can go ahead and take your 6x24 ruler and your Hera marker and just make a crease like that. So you can just stitch in the ditch right on that line. Well, once you know where you're going to quilt, then your pins come next. I'm using 1-inch safety pins, and they actually have a cover on them so they're easier to hold on to and to manage. I'm using a pinning tool and it helps close it easily. Let me show you right on the red. You just tip the tool down, take the pin, push it in, actually scratch the surface. When the tip comes out, you catch it in this ridge and you just push down and you can close it like that. Oh, it's going great. Okay, I have my walking foot on, and you want to set your stitch length to 3.0 or even 3.5. And so I have the quilt more manageable. I actually took some clamps, some clips, and I rolled up that edge so that I can just actually make the quilt a little bit smaller. Okay, let me just start right here. I'm going to use a locking stitch at the beginning so that as soon as you start, you lock it and then you hold your hands as if they were a triangle and just stitch right on the line. If you have needle down, go ahead and use it. Let me move along here and go like this. Now, I would go right through. Well, I put the pin right where I was going to machine quilt. You're not supposed to do that. Just remove the pins if they get in the way. Now, you want to go ahead and stitch down the center of your quilt, and then you want to go around the outside edge. I'm at the end, so I'm going to lock stitch again. You want to go around the outside edge and stitch in the ditch through all of the borders. So let's just pretend I have that all done. Boy, am I fast today. Let me just slide this along here, and I'm going to show you how to put on the binding. Now, I already pieced my binding into one long strip, and then once it was all pieced into a long strip, I took it and I pressed it so that it's wrong sides together. And then just so it's manageable, roll it up in a tight roll like this. Okay, I want to start near a corner. And I'm just going to take my binding strip and just slip it right underneath there and line up the edge of my walking foot and just stitch right along there. And as I stitch, I like to put a little bit of tension on my binding so that you don't have all of these a loose ruffled binding. Nothing worse than that. Okay, I'm coming right into the corner, and so I like to take a straight pin and actually mark it the seam allowance width. I went through all thicknesses. Keep your eye on that straight pin, because I'm going to go right up to that straight pin and stop with the needle down. Raise the presser foot, and you want to turn it to the second side. So just swing it around like this. Boy, you need to have a good breakfast on a day like this. Drop your presser foot, and then reverse sew right off of that strip. And let's just pull it up. Oh, perfect. Right on that pin. Okay, take out the pin, and you want to fold your binding at an exact 45-degree angle. And straight up, when you see that it's all lined up, you know it's perfect. And then you want to do a second fold, and I like to take my stiletto, just put it right down in there, and fold it back down right on top. Whoops, I let that slip right out. Okay, fold right down, and then you just start stitching right where you left off. Just pick up and just keep on going. Now you would go the whole way around the outside edge, stitching your binding down, and when you get back to the beginning, you just overlap your ends and make a seam right there. But I'm going to show you how to finish it. This is the amazing part right here. So you can do this with your rotary cutter and your ruler. I'm just going to take these big scissors and just trim the batting and the backing to about 1/8 inch from the edge, because this is the miracle. Okay, just cut that off. We'll just get rid of that. Now, just pop this corner right around here, and you'll see that perfect miter in there. Beautiful. And then from the back side, fold the binding over that previous stitching, and just go ahead and put some pins here. Now, actually, I'm going to go ahead and pull the binding over the stitching so that I can go back and stitch it by machine. I like to actually get my bindings done by machine. And so if I pin it this way, tuck in that miter right there, then from the right side, all I need to do is stitch in the ditch along here and catch the back side. Now, I like to do my binding by machine, but you know, my friends really like to do their binding by hand. I invited them over for an all-day quilting bee. So join me and let's see what we can get accomplished. Patty laid out her strips in order, and Teresa just stepped right in, assembly line sewing her blocks and cutting them apart. Now, when friends get together to quilt, they go a little crazy, and my friends are no different. Judy got just a little excited, but then she settled down and got those blocks sewn together. It's pedal to the metal, assembly line sewing, one block after the other. If you get the first one right, you get them all right. If you get the first one wrong, well, Sandy was making a flannel quilt for her husband, working very quickly at it. Judy's partway through her blocks. Looking good, Judy. It's assembly line sewing, one after the other. Teresa took some time to do a little pressing in the middle of her blocks while Sandy was trying to catch up. Well, Sue literally lost it with her blocks.
That's it! Yeah. Lunchtime! Yeah. Lauren!
Orion helped us out, picked some bread and potato salad, but we were so tired all we could do was sit there and enjoy the meal and the fresh air. After lunch, it was back to those blocks, laying them out, just trying to choose the layout. Now Sue took some scrap stars and placed those in with her blocks. It's beautiful. Well, Teresa and I worked as a team. We placed her backing down first, and then we took the batting. And you have to be very careful that the batting is even on both sides, equal on both sides. Easier when you work as a team. The top comes next, and then some safety pinning together. I had a few minutes for some machine quilting before cookie break. Cheers. We had a great day together today. I machine quilted my top and added the binding. Judy made 12 blocks and set them together into timberline. Well, Patty walked the dog and she put a little humility into her quilt top. Sandy made 15 blocks, lots of moose on her quilt for her husband in the all sevens pattern. Sue made a scrappy star pattern, stars at the top and at the bottom, looks great. And Teresa made 12 blocks in the fields and furrows pattern to give to her mom. Well, we had so much fun. Thank you for spending the day with us.